Hey guys, Redbeard here. Well, this video wasn't supposed to really happen for another week or so. I set out on the Appalachian Trail and my goal and my plan was to hike about 274 miles southbound from Hot Springs. Unfortunately, I didn't make it past day 2. It was pretty much the biggest failure of a hike that I've had in my entire life, and it was because of one piece of gear in my pack. So there's not really many things that would bring me off the trail. It would pretty much have to be one of my main items in my pack that would cause me to leave the trail, like a backpack or sleeping bag or tent or sleeping pad or shoes, something pretty significant. So I do have my video footage from the hike, and it was a great day and a half. Unfortunately, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back out there because I have so many things planned. But I wanted to show you guys the footage that I did capture. The weather was pretty crazy for late October. So I'm going to show you guys that, and by the end of my footage you'll know exactly what went wrong. And then I'm going to come back after the video footage from my hike, and I'm going to actually show you the product and let you see what it looks like. Again, it's an unfortunate thing because it's one of my most favorite pieces of gear that I currently carry in my pack, and it's something that once I started using it, it really changed my hike. I'm going to continue to use this item in the future, but I just want to show you guys exactly what went wrong with the product. So enjoy my hike, or at least what I have of it. Again, I'm going to be rescheduling this hike in the future. So stay tuned for that, but for now I've got other hikes planned and I'm not going to be able to come back to this one probably until springtime. So anyways, enjoy the video and stay tuned to the end of the video when I actually show you the failure. Well, here I am back on the trail on the AT here in Hot Springs, North Carolina. And man, it is cold and wet. It's snowing up at elevation. We came through the mountains and it was snow all up there, so it's gonna be pretty great way to start off the hike. It's 34 degrees outside, 35 degrees, somewhere right in there. Here is Hot Springs. This is it. This is the entire town. Right here. My favorite trail town for sure. There's the outfitters in town. And here's the little tavern, Spring Creek Tavern. Great memories there when I thru hiked. Well, I really wanted to get out here and do 275 miles in the middle of the fall just to see how beautiful the AT is in the southern section. When the leaves are changing, and I'm coming through here pretty much around peak season, so it should be beautiful. So here we are, just leaving Hot Springs. Not much to it, but still one of the best trail towns on the AT, I think, just because of the size. Today I'm doing 11.9, I think, and it's about 12 o'clock, so I got plenty of time to do the 12 miles, so getting dark around 6:30, 7. Here's the trail we're leaving town behind. Tell you what, I've only been in the woods for about a mile, and if you guys remember or have ever hiked this section of trail, it drops straight down into Hot Springs if you're going northbound. So obviously I'm going straight up. My calves are burning. This is what it's going to be like for me on this hike. It's beautiful out here. It really is. Straight through there, probably can't make it out, is Hot Springs. Getting up into the clouds a little bit, and we'll see if some of these raindrops turn back into snowflakes. I have a feeling that it will. My face might be a little red. I'm struggling, but it looks like it's starting to snow a little bit. Up here, I'm not really sure the elevation that I'm at. I've been going for about an hour straight up from Hot Springs, so getting up there, completely in the clouds. Feels good now that I'm moving, but it was really cold
down at the bottom. When I first got dropped off and stepped outside, man, temperature was a lot different than the temperature I left behind in Florida. But this was something I was really excited about, was this weather and the seasons. North Florida, you get, 40 degrees at night, 30 degrees sometimes, but you don't really get the really good leaf change, the colors. You do get some, but there, I feel like the leaves pretty much go from being green on the trees to just being off the trees. Yeah, I'm gonna be taking a lot of little breaks, that's for sure. Not stopping breaks, but just pauses on the trail, especially as I climb. No reason to push it. I mean, it's really, if you're in decent shape, it's really not too hard to do 20-mile days if you start early and you hike all the way until evening. And if you're in good shape, you'd be surprised how fast you can knock off 20 miles. So even out here in the forest with the constant ups and downs that you find on the AT, turning into a winter wonderland the higher I go. And when you switch sides from one ridge side to the other, the wind just pounds you. It's much warmer on the other side. Came around here and the rhododendron bushes are covered in kind of like ice and snow, and it's snowing on this side of the mountain, but on the other side it was not snowing and much warmer without the breeze. Made it to the split off trail to the first shelter, Deer Park shelter, and it was confusing because I was like, okay, where's my next shelter at? And my instincts made me look right at the northbound shelter, but nope, I'm heading southbound. So the next shelter is 11.2 miles that way. However, I'm gonna be staying at Painter Branch Gap. I think that's what it's called tonight, and there's a stream there. So that's where I'll be stopping. And as you can tell, it's still wet and snowy, but I'm only about 4 miles in. Well, I'm still climbing up, and man, as you can see, it's getting colder, more ice on the trees, more snow on the leaves. And I'm still not quite to the climb up to Bluff Mountain, and I think that's about a 2,000 foot climb, maybe 1,500 feet. And it puts you up over 4,000 feet. It might be closer to 5,000 feet, but I think more 4,000 to 4,500 feet. So it's gonna be pretty high for the East Coast, and I'll be camping just on the other side. I'm gonna come down a little bit, and tonight is the coldest night expected for the next 9 to 10 days. Of course, in a few though, I'll be up in the Smokies, so it was tough to tell exactly how cold it'll be up there at 6,000 feet. Probably pretty cold, about the same as it is here, I would imagine, maybe a little bit colder. Well, as you can see, the snow is not relenting. In fact, it's picking up. I've actually been dropping down a little bit here before I start climbing up to Bluff Mountain. Looks like I'm actually coming up on a little road. But the snow, it's kind of like a very wet snow, so it kind of feels like rain. And then kind of depending on what side of the mountain I'm on, it'll kind of change, it seems like, or maybe when I'm going up or coming down, going up a little bit higher, it turns into a little bit more pure snow. Okay, so it's been 3.4 miles, you can see, since that shelter, and I've done 6.6 today so far, and it's 2:25, so I've been going a little bit less than 3 hours, about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So Bluff Mountain, I could have sworn it was Bluff Mountain. Bluff Mountain, 4.1 miles. So this is probably about to be the climb up to that, and it's a pretty good little climb. So I'm gonna take it slow and because once I get up and over that, I'm pretty much where I need to be. So anyways, the snow's just kind of pelting me in my eyes. I've been just kind of walking with my face down, just to keep it from hitting me in the eyes. Well, so you might be wondering what I'm wearing right now just to stay dry and stay warm out here in these kind of conditions. For me personally, it starts off, I'm still wearing my normal Brooks Cascadian 9s that I have. I bought a bunch of pairs of them, so I'm down to my last one. And then I've got a pair of really thin Adidas athletic socks, ankle high socks. And then over top of those, I have some waterproof socks that keep my feet dry. My trail runners dry real fast. Of course, when it gets as cold as it is today, and it's going to be colder tonight, they're probably not going to dry out. They'll be wet in the morning. Then I'm just wearing my normal Columbia hiking pants that have the zip-off pant legs, and Columbia shirt as well, a hiking shirt, long sleeve. They can roll up and turn into a short sleeve. I kind of like the dual purpose thing, so I can go into shorts or wear pants if I need to. Same with the shirt. Then obviously I've got on here my Zpacks rain suit. This is the newest rain suit from us. It's the Virtus rain suit, and it's obviously working really well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a Patagonia beanie that I throw on kind of when I stop hiking. It's too hot to wear when I'm moving. And then I wear just a baseball cap of some kind. So that does a pretty good job of keeping me warm. At night, though, in this, I have a 20 degree Zpacks sleeping bag, but I brought a sleeping bag liner from Sea to Summit that will give me about 10 to 20 degrees more warmth, because I don't think a 20 degree is gonna quite cut it in this kind of conditions. You know, you can go down to 20 degrees in it. However, a 20 degree sleeping bag does not mean you're gonna be comfortable at 20 degrees. So, you know, I'll sleep with my synthetic jacket that I have on tonight as well. That's the Zpacks. Obviously it's not available yet, but we're tweaking it and should be out soon. But so I you know, I pretty much sleep with everything on when it's really cold, and I typically stay pretty warm. You know, the interior of my tent heats up pretty good just from my body heat, so it actually is a little bit warmer inside my tent, obviously, than it is outside. So not too bad. I'm staying warm, but it's just important to keep moving. You know, when it gets like this, when it's this cold, you really can't stop to eat. I've just been eating Cliff Bars today. You can see the snow is settling a little bit on the ground. You can tell there's really no one around me. I saw one spot, looked like someone had slipped on the trail, however, that was back there closer to the road. And you can tell through here, there's really no footprints. So I know there's some southbounders around. I imagine I'll see some. I'll probably have some catch me, because I'm definitely not going to be moving as fast as them. It looks like I'm moving at about 2.5 miles per hour. Well, I tell you what, when you come out here on your first day of hiking, after a little bit of a layoff and living in Florida, this is not what you imagined as day one, a little warm-up day, a nice little 12 miles to get started. This has been an absolute butt kicker. And I think the top of Bluff Mountain is just right up there. So I'm not too far from it. I've been going for a while, but you know, you can see it's a couple inches of snow on the ground, so it's slows you down for sure. But the wind's been really strong as well, so you can see my beard is pretty much frozen. So I think this is if this is any indication of what's to come, this is going to be a crazy hike for sure. So I shouldn't have, but maybe
once I get to the top of Bluff Mountain, I've only got a mile left. It'll be a nice little downhill from there. Hit a spring up and camp at just a campsite there called Painter Branch campsite. So, and I'll be excited to climb into my tent tonight for sure. And then I got 20 miles tomorrow. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna get back to it. Well, guys, I made it to the top of Bluff Mountain. That was a absolute butt kicker, an absolute butt kicker. I got a mile left. It's all downhill from here, and we're at 4,600 feet, and as you can see, it's just frozen solid up here. My trekking poles are just frozen. My backpack, my beard, everything is frozen. So I'm only going down about I'm only going down about 500 feet, so it's gonna be a cold night tonight, that's for sure. It looks like there's a camp spot over there. It's really tough to navigate through here. Luckily there was a trail runner, guy running in shorts in front of me. Crazy, man, but he was in good shape and he was going fast, so it was easy to follow because I could just follow his tracks. But I mean, as you can tell, it's really hard to tell that the trail goes right there. In fact, it looks like it goes right there. So you gotta move slow when it's like this, but I got a mile and I'm gonna set my tent up and get warmed up because it is freezing. It's gonna be a cold night tonight. I tell you what, it's always fun going downhill in the snow. Almost feel like you're snow skiing. One of my favorite things to do in the wintertime is snow ski. I haven't done it in a while, but I always love doing it. And this always kind of reminds me of a little bit, going down a little trail through the woods. Man, it is a whole lot easier hiking downhill in the snow than it is climbing up 2,000 feet in the snow. Okay, it looks like I'm coming up on my spring or stream. There might be a couple of them, but I'm not gonna mess around. I got a bottle of Gatorade, but I have to cook tonight and I do not want to be without water. I mean, I do have some dry food I could eat, but a warm meal for some reason is sounding really good right about now. Granted, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get water from this, so this is definitely not the stream, because there is a marked in the AWOL guide, there is a pretty good water source. So it's 4:50, and this is my first night out, and I'm pretty certain it gets dark around 6:30. And I'm supposed to do 12 miles today. It's only 1.2 miles further to the shelter. So when I get to the campsite where I was supposed to camp, I'm going to decide if I want to keep going and just make my 20 mile day, or I think it's like 19.8 miles tomorrow that I'm supposed to do up and over Max Patch. It'd be nice to make that maybe an 18 mile day instead for day 2. I'm not doing any 0 days on this hike, so any days where I can kind of shorten it. And I'm feeling pretty good. I was definitely moving slow going up Bluff Mountain, but on the back end now, I feel really good. My legs are feeling good. They're definitely gonna be a little sore tomorrow, but even though I haven't been hiking as much, I definitely notice that when I do get back out there, I just don't have knee pain or ankle pain or foot pain. And when I was through hiking, I rarely had pains. So I definitely would say that I'm pretty lucky with that. But it kind of does make you feel good to get out here and just really get smacked in the face right off the bat on day 1. So I was able to get through that, so I should be fine. Aha, here we go. This looks like, well, it looks like a stream. Okay, there is a trickle here. There's a little pool. So I brought a scoop cup. Anyone that's hiked the AT or the PCT, if you don't carry a pump style filter, it's very important to have a little cup that you can scoop water out when it's really, really low like this, like a really slow trickle. So I'm gonna get here and you can hear the water a little bit. I'm gonna fill up my Gatorade bottle here and have water. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm probably gonna set up camp I don't want to push myself too much on day one, I think, so 12 miles is good. That's stick to the plan. Well, guys, here we are. I made it to a little gap about a half mile further from the location that I originally planned to stay at tonight. It was really, really windy up there, another 400 feet up, 500 feet up. So this is a little bit lower. It's still windy, but it's not as bad. There are trees around me, and most of the trees look healthy, so I don't think anything's gonna fall on me, knock on wood. But this is where I'm gonna be doing our first night at camp and start the day off tomorrow with about a 500 foot uphill. It's another 7/10 of a mile to the shelter. I thought about going to it, but I can't quite get service, so I don't know what time the sun's gonna set. It's starting to get dark, so I don't really want to push it. So I think I'm just gonna set up camp right here, and this should be pretty good for the night, guys. So I'm gonna get set up and I'll be back. For some reason, you can hear trees falling. That's the second one that's fallen since I've been in my tent. I got out of my tent just to double check again to make sure there's no dead trees around me, and there are none. But you know, you just never know. Even a perfectly good tree could fall. So I hate camping in situations like this, surrounded by under trees. But there's really not much you can do. I'm really hoping it's going to be a lot warmer tomorrow, because it is cold. It's cold. Actually, I don't mind the cold. I just the snow it makes it tough going. So we'll see. And hopefully this wind's going to die down too. Keeping my fingers crossed. The system's supposed to clear out. It's supposed to be super clear tonight. It's not clear yet. There's still clouds, and it's still flurrying a little bit outside. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna eat some dinner and then hit the sack early tonight. Let's see, it's 6 o'clock, so probably another hour or so of daylight. Hopefully I'll be asleep before then, and then we'll be up tomorrow, day 2, 20 miles. I'll see you guys then. Well, it's the start of day 2, and it's about 8:25. That was the worst sleep I've ever had, for sure. It got down to about 26 degrees last night. The seams of my sleeping pad split and came undone, so unfortunately there was no way to keep air in my sleeping pad, so I slept on the ground in the snow. My shoes they're frozen solid. My waterproof socks are frozen solid. My feet are freezing. So the snow just made things way worse. The cold temperature normally isn't a problem, but the snow mixed with the 20-degree temperatures just froze everything, because everything was wet. And you can see my backpack is completely frozen solid as well. So, man, all I gotta say is I hope that the sun does come out today, and it is clear skies. So I know in Hot Springs the high was supposed to be 42, so we'll see what the high is going to be up in the mountains. But I'm about only at 3,700 feet. But yeah, this was definitely not the way you want to start off your hike, that's for sure. Having a day 1 like that, where everything gets frozen on night 1, is pretty miserable. And then to have my sleeping pad bust on me was an absolute worst nightmare. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do without a sleeping pad and 20-degree temperatures. It's well, anyone that slept on the ground in 20-degree weather knows what I'm talking about. And I mean, I slept on snow last night, so it was pretty bad. So I don't know if I'm going to try to reach out to some people that live in the area and see if they happen to have a spare sleeping pad I can borrow. I have another sleeping pad that's getting shipped to me, but it's not going to get to me till the NOC, and that's a long ways away. That's 6 days away, 7 days away, and I'm going through the Smokies, where I have to sleep in shelters on wooden platforms. So pretty much worst case scenario has happened on day 1. Well, guys, I don't know if you guessed right on what the product failure was. Again, I mean, it would take something pretty substantial to bring anyone off the trail. A backpack, a sleeping bag, a tent failure, sleeping pad failure was obviously what it was for me. Here is the culprit right here, the Thermarest NeoAir X Lite. Granted, I do have quite a bit of miles on this pad. I'm not really sure how many, probably around 1,000 or so, but it should last longer than that. I've had previous pads of this exact brand and exact type that lasted much longer. So let me just inflate this thing and let you guys see exactly what it looks like now. It was losing air every 10 minutes, so I was constantly having to inflate it, and I ended up just sleeping on the ground with it deflated because it wasn't worth the time and the effort of trying to fill it up every 10 minutes and then trying to fall asleep real fast. So let me inflate this baby and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, so here it is inflated. Again, within about 10 minutes from now, this thing will be completely out of air. But let me show you. So this is the foot end of the sleeping pad here. And as we go down, this is the head end. I don't know if you can actually quite tell just how high up this is. I would say it's nearly a foot. You know, on the bottom you can see the seams broke on the bottom and on the top, so it's not just really what you're seeing on the top here, it's also the bottom. Feels like it could burst really at any moment. It was hard for me to tell exactly where the air was leaking from. Honestly, obviously one of these seams somewhere, but it could be somewhere else. And you know, I know there are different things you can do to try to figure out where the air is leaking from, but unfortunately I really was in a position where I didn't have the ability to figure that out from the trail. If it had just been the seams and the issue with the way that the pad is blowing up, I would have stayed on the trail and just kind of slept awkwardly on the pad, which is what I attempted to do on night one. However, the bigger issue, more so than the seams, really is the air leakage, because my first night it was 24 degrees inside my tent, so probably a little bit colder outside of my tent. And it was going to be just as cold for pretty much the next week or so. And unfortunately, I wasn't going to be able to get a sleeping pad until another about 125 miles or so. And I was about to go into the Smokies, up over 6,000 feet. So it was going to be substantially colder up there as well. So it was a pretty sad moment for me when it comes to a hike, because I really hate getting off the trail, and the leaves were changing, and it was honestly perfect. So again, it's never a good thing when something fails, especially when it's something that brings you off the trail when you've been really looking forward to being back out there for quite some time. But you know, I had to make a decision, and for me, it didn't make sense to be out there sleeping on the ground in such cold temperatures. It was very tough to sleep. I pretty much got no sleep that night. It was the worst night of sleep I've ever had out in the mountains. So I had to make the decision, and I made the decision to come off trail and just reschedule the hike. I'm going to reach out to Thermarest regarding this pad and see if they are able to send me another one. So, you know, I'll give an update on that in a future video on how they responded. I'm not quite sure of their warranty program. And again, this pad does have some miles on it, so I wouldn't be completely surprised if they really didn't do anything for me, but at least it's worth a try, because these things aren't cheap, and I have been a huge fan of the Neo Air X-Lite, and this is the first time that I've really had a serious failure with the product. So again, I'm going to be back out soon. My next hike, I'm going to be doing a Florida Trail hike here in Ocala. We're going to do the Ocala section of the Florida Trail. It's about 60, 70 miles, 80 miles, somewhere in there. It's one of the best sections of the entire Florida Trail, so we're doing that here in December. And then in January, I'm going to be hitting the trail again for 300 miles and through hiking the Benton McKay Trail. That should be a complete adventure. In the middle of the winter, it's going to be cold. I do have to pick up a few things for that hike, just to make sure that I'm warm enough. I had a 20-degree sleeping bag on this hike, and it was not warm enough. I did have a sleeping bag liner, but the liner weighed essentially the same as my Zpacks 20-degree sleeping bag. So 20 degrees just wasn't enough, even though it only got down to 24. Obviously, with sleeping bags, you know, the degree rating doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be extremely comfortable at those temperatures. It just means more of a survival rating. So what I really need to do is move on down to a 10-degree sleeping bag, so I can leave that sleeping bag liner at home. The sleeping bag liner, however, did help out a lot on this hike when it did get super cold. So I do need to add some things to my pack for my upcoming Benton McKay Trail through hike, because again, it's going to be super, super cold. If you're not from the south, you might think, oh, it's the south, it doesn't get that bad. But when you're up in the mountains, pretty much over 4,000 feet, it's really cold. You're talking, you know, single digits at night in the middle of the winter, and teens pretty much consistently. So that should be a great hike, and I'm really looking forward to it. Well, guys, that pretty much does it here. If you have any questions about the Thermarest NeoAir X-Lite product or any other experiences that I might have had with it, please reach out to me below and I'll try to get back to you. Otherwise, happy hiking.